Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Game Changer. I'm Maryam Zia. As we wrap up year 2024, we are going to be taking a look at Pakistan's successes on diplomatic stage in year 2024. In this year, we know that Pakistan navigated a complex global economic environment as well as a geopolitical environment with Pakistan's foreign policy focusing on economic stability as well as strengthening strategic ties with other countries, and we also of course focused on ensuring multilateralism. Pakistan in this year of course organized and hosted a successful Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, as well as of course Pakistan earned non-permanent membership of United Nations Security Council, which is of course a success for Pakistan. In today's program, we will be talking about all these dimensions, what lessons did we learn, and of course what challenges face us in the future. Pakistan also stood for the rights of Palestinians and for peace and stability, not only in the South Asia but Middle East and beyond. In today's program, we'll be talking about the lessons that we learned in year 2024. We will be celebrating the successes as far as Pakistan foreign policy and diplomacy is concerned. To discuss this and more, we are joined by Ms. Neala Chohan, who is former Special Secretary Foreign Affairs. Welcome to the program. We are joined online by former Ambassador Mr. Baluch. Welcome to the program. Mr. Neala, when we look at year 2024, of course, this year marked another significant year in terms of global instability, not only in terms of economic instability, but in terms of wars that were, of course, we witnessed across the globe in different regions. How do you see Pakistan's engagement? Let's start from Pakistan navigating ties between US and China.
Well, since we are summing up the year 2024, I would, through your program, congratulate the government and the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for a job well done, I would say. Because as you said, this was a very challenging year. There were wars in Ukraine, there was war in Gaza, was really terrible. But Pakistan's foreign policy was on very stable and strong footing. You mentioned Pakistan's membership, non-permanent seat of the UN Security Council. We also had a seat in the Board of Governors of the IAEA, yes, which was for the first time, and also in the Disarmament Commission. So this is a testimony of the respect that Alhamdulillah Pakistan enjoys in the international community and success of Pakistan's foreign policy. Talking about international level, then there have been many regional activities in which Pakistan did a great job. SCO was hosted very successfully without any negativity, and the declaration also came up successfully. Of course, India was represented by their foreign minister, which shows their commitment to this organization, but all the other heads of governments were here. Pakistan also hosted a lot of delegations coming from abroad, which shows the importance the world attaches to Pakistan, whether it was the Malaysian Prime Minister's visit or it was the Chinese Premier's visit or our foreign minister's visit there, and Saudi delegations, great engagement with GCC countries. So it has been a great year for Pakistan's foreign policy.
Of course, it has been indeed a great year for Pakistan, but Mr. Baluch, we cannot forget the challenges that Pakistan faced in this year in terms of its economic stability. And we know that when we talk about economic stability of a country, it goes hand in hand with foreign policy. Pakistan secured an IMF deal How significant was Pakistan's foreign policy, in your opinion, or successful diplomacy in securing a deal this time around?
Thank you, Mariam. First of all, thank you for taking on this program where I see my old colleague, Madam Neala, to be talking. I think I also like to join her in congratulating the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the entire team, for really navigating Pakistan through a landmine of issues at the global and regional level. As I see the contours of the foreign policy as they unfolded during the year 2024, I see four or five major priorities that seem to have been the kind of the benchmarks on which Pakistan was endeavoring. Number one was to kind of reassert and play again a key role in the regional diplomacy. We saw that Pakistan hosted SCO summit, which is again a hallmark of any successful foreign policy in terms of multilateral diplomacy. That was an amazing summit. Pakistan not only got its place reasserted as a major regional player, but also kind of re-emphasize its relations with all those 17 member countries. Then the other next important, I think, contour of our foreign policy during 2024 seemed to me, in my view, was to engage with the neighbors and traditional friends, that Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, of course, how can we forget China? Because I think there was a little bit of unalignment with our relations with these countries, which are a traditional friends. So they were realigned, they were reset, and we could see several delegations coming from these countries, especially Saudi Arabia. In fact, the Prime Minister paid 5 visits during this 1 year, uh, including his several meetings with the crown prince, and of course the commitment of Saudi Arabia to give $5 billion investment, to which I think we see the first tranche just came in, where Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have signed an agreement for 15% the share in the recording. Then the next important, I think, priority for Pakistan strategically was to show its commitments to the regional connectivity. So
Right.
that
Right, of
is
course, regional, yeah, regional connectivity remains an important aspect when we talk about Pakistan's foreign policy. And let me lead this question to Ms. Naila. Ms. Naila, of course, the China-Pakistan economic corridor remains an important aspect of Pakistan's foreign policy. How do you see that Pakistan's hosting of SCO this year in Pakistan, of course, is going to be strengthening not only bilateral ties, but of course regional connectivity goals in year 2025?
Indeed, and as my wonderful friend Ambassador G.R. Baluch was talking about, um, the Chinese Premier's visit, Li Qian's visit here, was of great significance because it was not only for SCO, there was a bilateral portion to that
Yes.
visit also. And the Chinese delegation otherwise was also led by their minister who's in charge of CPEC. So they did a review of all the projects, the forward movement, the progress, and the bottlenecks were all identified, and the two countries together had a very sincere and they are, as they say, iron brothers. So in very candid, very friendly atmosphere, a mutual benefit was discussed in CPEC, the projects, and obviously security is a major issue. You know, some unfortunately Chinese friends were targeted by nefarious elements, so that also had to be addressed. CPEC is very important not only for Pakistan but for the region, but of course there are spoilers also, and the spoilers need to understand that it will damage them also if they hurt CPEC.
Right, and of course, when we talk about these issues and engagements with the neighborhood, Mr. G.R. Baluch, let's talk about Pakistan ties with India. Of course, we know that Pakistan has had limited diplomatic ties and exchanges since 2019. But how do you see the recent visit of India's foreign minister and his participation in SCO summit hosted by Pakistan? And also, despite this limited interaction between both the countries, we know that there were some renewed agreements on Kartarpur corridor and visa facilitation for pilgrims. How important are these steps?
Yeah, I think these are very important, but I think I have one comment to make. Um, Mr. Jaishankar's coming to Pakistan was, I think, about 10 years that any foreign minister, Indian foreign minister, has visited, set foot on Pakistan. So that was a very, very positive kind of step. And also that it helped free some of the ice, or at least that's inhibition. But more than that, here is the author of the doctrine of isolating Pakistan, but seeing himself and taking part in that summit. So I think that was again a platonic justice, if you will, that was meted out to him. But it was good to see him. I think it sent a positive message, at least to the public, that these two neighbors are indispensable to each other. As they say that you can change anything but not the neighbors. So I think there is a need for both the countries, especially for India, to change its stance towards Pakistan. Pakistan is a reality, will remain a reality till eternity, inshallah, and they need to really rethink entire their perspective about Pakistan and how to really live like normal neighbors. And of course, the key issue remains Kashmir issue. Kashmir is part of the unfinished independence agenda of independence. These and unless as per the international resolution of the Security Council, their wish is not ascertained, Pakistan cannot abandon them. If that is the kind of understanding that diplomatic pressure would force Pakistan to abandon Kashmiris, so I think that they should forget about it, because there's a whole consensus in the nation that Kashmiris are to be given this right of their to determine what do they want to do as far as their final status is concerned. But I think coming to India, there is a need to be living like a normal neighbor. Kartarpur is a very, very good positive public to public level initiative which Pakistan took, and it is I think giving dividends that people from across the world, not only India, the Sikh community is coming to Pakistan. So I think we need to really work more towards normalizing the relations and taking benefit of this connectivity. Why not India become part of the CPEC rather than opposing it? So I think they need to
Right.
rethink and revisualize South Asia as a region of peace, a region without any conflict. Why not? After all, what is so bad about South Asia? While all other regions are interconnected, they are interdependent, they are prospering as a region. And also, we must not forget that countries alone cannot prosper. It is always a region which prospers together. I think that is what I think we need to sort of project and promote this idea in terms of South Asian cooperation among countries of the SARC and the region. Yeah.
Right, right. And of course, when we talk about these issues, how do you foresee these engagements with India in 2025?
It's a difficult question because, as you know, when the foreign minister came, uh, even before his arrival, the nuancing and the messaging that was emanating from the Indian side was not very positive. And they were saying, oh, this is only for SEO and there should be no hopes for any bilateral or this, that, and the other. So India has to have some reality check. It has Gondwa's designs, but its reality and its ambitions, there's a gap. So, Mr. Modi, how does he look at it? 2025 will be a challenging year for the region. As you know, after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, and then further atrocities that are being committed in Kashmir.
And with Modi again in power.
Exactly, and Modi's agenda being implemented, where they are trying to force non-Kashmiris to settle there. After this abrogation, they can buy the property, they can do whatever they like, which was not the case before. So the sovereignty of the people of Kashmir has been, invaded by this abrogation. And every day reports are coming of arbitrary, killing, of injustices, of disappearances.
Right. So this is something that foreign policy would keep on working towards.
We will keep on working. International community has to play its role in it. But the indications that you have from the Indian side are not very positive, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. But let's talk about the positive sides and positive aspects. Mr. G.R. Baluch, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif undertook multiple visits to Saudi Arabia and other GCC countries as well. And of course, there are around $5 billion investments, projected investments rather, in pipeline as well. How do you see these investments, these commitments playing out in future, and how do you see these in terms of successes, and what is your foresight for this in future?
Yeah, I think GCC has been our strategic priority in terms of our foreign policy since decades. A strong, about 2 million, 1.5 million Pakistanis, they work in the GCC countries. We have ideological, spiritual relationship with GCC countries. There are personal relationships between the Prime Minister and the leadership in these GCC states. So I think there is, and also there is a kind of natural affinity of culture, of geography. And if we look at even from economic point of view, that your nearest neighborhood becomes your priority. So I think it is incumbent on us that we nurture this relationship, that we develop this relationship. And I think Pakistan, being a country of 250 million people with diverse kind of resources, huge market, a good critical mass of educated youth, I think they definitely can be, and they have been earlier. The unskilled and semi-skilled labor were part of the bonanza in the GCC countries, and in fact, they keep telling us whenever we had interaction with the GCC bureaucracy as well as the leadership that Pakistanis have a important role in the development of what we see in Dubai or Riyadh or Jeddah, all of these places. So I think when they also usher in a new era of technology, in a new era of alternate energy, in an era of alternate economic models, like, for example, Prince ABS vision for Saudi Arabia for 2030, where he wants to have technology, he wants to have AI center, and so on and so forth. So I think Pakistan can benefit from their new approach to development, and we have those people who can help them. Likewise, Pakistan needs to still, I think, tap on its natural resources, where the financial resources of the Gulf countries come. So there is a simply win-win situation as far as Pakistan and GCC countries are concerned. We need to really work it out. We need to really not allow any return to come in. We also to be very, very, very careful with those people who are saboteurs, who might sabotage the relationship. So one of our neighbor has that tendency as well. So I think we need to look at this relationship and keep it and give it a very high priority. Yeah.
Right. That remains an important aspect. But we have been discussing, Ambassador Saibab, in our many programs about Pakistan establishing relations with non-traditional partners like African countries. How do you see Pakistan's progress in that area in strengthening bilateral relations and reaching out to countries in the African region in year 2024? And in coming years, what needs to be done, in your opinion? What kind of initiatives we should be looking towards?
Well, as you know, I was one of the drafters of the
Yes,
Look Africa
yes.
policy, and I feel gratified that it is being implemented. 2024 was a good year for Pakistan Africa relations. Pakistan is also seeking observership with their customs organization. Pakistan is now actively engaged with African countries when it comes to trade, whether at bilateral level or regional level in Africa, because as you know, Africa has several parts, it has several regions in it, and Pakistan is very positively engaged with Africa. And you can see that it will be beneficial for Pakistan as well as Africa. We have so much to offer. Until now, we have just been giving them, for example, training in specialized areas, be it defense, peacekeeping, and specialized areas. But now that umbrella has to be made bigger so that we have more cooperation.
Trade cooperation is very
Trade
important.
cooperation, and actually it's part of the proposal that the chambers of commerce of different Pakistani provinces, because after 18th Amendment, provinces have an important role to play as well, that they should engage with various African chambers of commerce at bilateral level as well as multilateral level, and there should be a database where what we produce could be identified with a click of your finger, and what is available there, so that you can have a maximum advantage for your exports as well as imports, instead of following that downtrodden path of just a few destinations for your trade. You can expand and diversify, which will make your trade more successful and more beneficial for the people of Pakistan.
Of course, that is very important, and recently Pakistan and Kenya also joined, of course, bilateral trade cooperation agreement, and in coming days we will be discussing about that. But Mr. J.R. Baluch, let's talk about climate change, because this has been a major issue when we talk about global politics, and Pakistan being one of the sufferers. How do you see Pakistan's progress in terms of participating and raising its voice for the global south at international stages? Especially we know that COP29 was also held in November. Moving forward, how do you see Pakistan's engagement with international stakeholders in terms of climate financing?
Yeah, I think that is very important priority again for Pakistan to be visible at the global level with all the global issues which impact the humanity. And I think climate change is that important, one of the important and priority areas where Pakistan has been playing. And why it is playing so? Because we are among the first, like the most affected, the eighth most affected country because of the climate change, while our contribution is less than 1%. And of course, there's a whole lot of responsibility that lies on the developed world or the industrial world, which has polluted the global environment for the last 200 years since their industrial revolution. And there is this theme of climate justice to which Pakistan has been supporting. And of course, for that to translate, that comes to climate financing. I think it was Pakistan's earlier foreign minister whose efforts, I think, did translate into this concept being implemented. And later also in COP29, Pakistan's Prime Minister and the delegation of Pakistan, they really forcefully convinced the world that this climate financing is not enough. So I think from 100 billion it was increased to 400 billion. So I think Pakistan needs to have collaboration and cooperation with the like-minded um, countries of the south, which are really affected like Pakistan. This is, I think, an important issue on which even Pakistan can co-opt South Asian countries, even including India. So there has to be a, I think, very priority area for Pakistan to be working for the climate change, because we saw in 2022 that how climate change has impacted Pakistan. In fact, I was reading a study that not, I mean, forget about other economic losses, but there is a humanitarian losses that because of the
Exactly.
2022 rains, the in fact the women were affected because there was this, because people were those who were displaced. So some kind of a psychological and social issues have also started to come in. So there's a huge cost, social, economic, developmental. So I think Pakistan needs to prioritize climate change as a subject, not only that we need to adopt to it, but of course we need to work with the world, work with the like-minded countries to get the financing done, to also to even I would say as as a now a free citizen, that why not to work for the reparations, that even if you don't call them reparation, but the damages, the damage that has been done by the industrial world to the countries of the south which did not have any industrial, those who not bear any responsibility for the pollution of the globe. Yep, Maria.
Right, of course, that remains very important issue, but unfortunately we are pressed for time. Lastly, Mr. G.R. Baluch, as we are moving towards 2025, in your opinion, what should be priority areas that Pakistan should be focusing on in future, and what challenges do you foresee?
I think I'll repeat what I said. Our neighborhood is very important. Our relations with Iran need to be corrected. Still, I think their relations are good, but still there are things that we need to do it. Afghanistan is a big challenge for us, how to deal with it, because now it has become a more security issue, and also the security for the purpose of making CPEC happen. So I think that needs to be looked at, and of course that connects to China. So I think we have to really make sure that CPAC does not face such security challenges, that there's no setback, there are no saboteurs. And of course, with the US also, we have had traditional relationships. So I think we should try to keep a communication channel open with the new administration which will come. And I think our channel and our media should avoid speculation about and try not to damage whatever our opponents might like to do it. So I think that is very important, and at the global level, priority should continue to be given to climate change issues, and we should forcefully advocate the issue of countries which are affected by the climate change. And of course, most importantly, we did not talk was the Palestinian issue. In fact, in my view, we must prioritize, it should be one of our priorities to make sure that we stand for the people of Palestine who are being slaughtered. And we all see on the daylight, we see it on the screens. So I think the world's conscience has to be shaken. And in fact, Pakistan has played a very important role in the UN while the resolutions were being presented at the Security Council. So I think Kashmir issue, Palestinian issue, CPAC, relations with the neighbors, relations with the other major powers. But I think we must adopt a multi-dimensional political like foreign policy. We cannot be having a foreign policy with singular reliance on one or two countries. We have to have a
Building non-traditional ties, of course,
exactly.
reaching out to non-traditional partners and building non-traditional strategic partnership with those countries. Ms. Naila, lastly, the same question to you, that as we are entering to year 2025, what key challenges do you foresee, and also what should be the areas that Pakistan's Foreign Office should be prioritizing in terms of diplomacy?
Well, as you know, President-elect Trump will be in office on 20th of January. I think everything will change after he takes office. And we in Pakistan have to observe carefully how those changes are going to occur and how we can play a positive role in the world. CPEC projects implementation should be our priority. Our friendship with China is our priority, and you know, in 2024 we had Russian delegation here also, and we hope that there is peace in that part of the world. We have good relations with Ukraine also, so we hope that good sense will prevail. We have to work with EU, we have to work on GSP plus, we have to have more bilateral trade commission meetings also. You know, this year we had D8 meeting, which is an economic organization. So the decisions of D8 also need to be implemented. The decisions of SCO need to be implemented. The decisions of ECO need to be implemented. So that is at regional level. Then we have bilateral consultation. This year we had several bilateral consultations, both in Islamabad and abroad. They have to be regularized and continued, because unfortunately sometimes there are lapses and that creates problems. Trade commission meetings should be regular. There should be no lapse in that. Unfortunately, that is also not as regular as we like them to be.
Right.
And then at international fora, we have to keep playing our important role as peace builders, as peacemakers. Even this year, OIC, we played a good role in that, and we need to continue and use that forum also for creating awareness on Kashmir.
Of course, for human rights violations, and of course for
and also in Human Rights Commission we should raise these issues.
Right. Thank you very much, Ms. Neala Chohan, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Baluch, for joining us in today's program. Of course, as we conclude today's discussion and we celebrate Pakistan's successes at a global stage in terms of its diplomacy, there are a number of things that Pakistan built, but there is a lot that needs to be done as well, and there are a number of challenges, so we need to be better prepared for that. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care, Allah Hafiz, and a happy new year to you all.